This recipe is a butternut squash soup with a few twists along the way. We're going to be roasting it off in a little bit of truffle oil and then pairing it with some chilli, sage, and then doing a crouton using the seeds themselves. So we're going to start off, I've preheated the oven to 200 degrees. We're going to take out the seeds and keep them to one side. The squash itself, just removing the stem, can go in the compost. And then in order to cook this, I'm going to basically Hassleback it. Use a wooden spoon, it's quite a good tip, so you don't chop all the way down through the squash. Parallel cuts down through the squash itself. What this does is it increases the surface area of the squash itself and means you can get quite a quick roasting time. So it does make this an ideal recipe to try out at the end of the day for a family meal or for a nice working lunch. All I'm doing now is putting some sage leaves in between the layers, and that's going to really infuse it with flavour from the inside. What I'm going to do now is add a bit of shallot and garlic and then drizzle with truffle oil, season with sea salt and add a few spices. I've gone for some paprika, a little bit of cumin, chilli and some pink peppercorns. I'm going to roast this off in the oven until the skin is lovely and golden. What I've got here are the butternut squash seeds. Now normally you would compost or throw these away, but actually they're going to be really tasty as a crunchy pop or as a crouton on top of the soup. So all you need to do is pop them in a nice frying pan. I'm going to toast these with some black garlic. Now, black garlic is an interesting ingredient to play with in the kitchen. Has a wonderful sort of balsamic, umami, sweet taste to it. To cook these, I'm going to use the truffle oil that I've got just to tie it together with the soup. So put in a good drizzle of oil. You could use rapeseed oil, but don't use olive oil because it's got a lower burning point and it'll get too hot too quickly. So a veg oil or a rapeseed oil. Season with a generous pinch of sea salt and then cook them on the stove. And we're going to finish these in the oven just to make sure they're nice and toasty and crispy. At this point in the cooking, the squash smells fantastic. I'm just going to drizzle it with some Cornish honey. This is smelling mouth-wateringly good, if I say so myself. What we're going to do now is just blitz it up with that saffron stock and then keep a couple of slices just to garnish. We've got beautifully cooked butternut squash full of all of those spices, sage, a little bit of truffle oil, and we're going to serve these with the pumpkin seed croutons. For me, this is a proper bowl of winter. I've got the butternut squash that's been roasted off, and it's got a whole zero waste ethos, but the key thing is it tastes great. Little toasted seeds instead of croutons, the Hassleback squash that you could serve in many different ways, but that we've blitzed up with this lovely saffron stock. Cheers.